Welcome back to Gameday Tarps podcast, episode 24. How are you guys doing today, gentlemen?
Good, boss.
Pretty good, Riley.
Awesome. Glad to hear. It's been a while. We've been a little bit busy, but let's jump right into it. With football done, baseball is just starting up the spring training. There's not much else to talk about because the NBA is not exciting anyways. So let's get into hockey. We got hometown kid tonight. NHL debut, Logan Stankoven. We just want to throw a congrats to him. Knowing this guy, seeing him for a couple of years and getting to know his family like we all kind of have is pretty cool for us to see this come to fruition for him. He was pretty hard driven as a kid, and to get to see his dream come true is pretty special. So congrats to him for that. Another first game was Arshdeep Bains for the Vancouver Canucks. He is from South Asian descent, so their other players to play from South Asian descent include Robin Bawa, Juhar Kaira, Manny Malhotra, and Andreas Martinson. So not many, so he's continuing to break the ground for the South Asian community, so it's good to see more representation of color from him. And new story, but a returning story. Cody Hodgson returned to hockey after 8 years. He played 328 games and he was forced to retire after being diagnosed with malignant hypothermia. But he was able to return and he scored his first professional goal with the Milwaukee Admirals after 8 years. So congratulations to him. Being a former 10th overall pick by our local Vancouver Canucks, he was a huge deal. And I think in the 08 draft or 09 draft, whatever it was. So congrats to him for getting a shot to come back and do the thing he loved to do. All right, boys, this is some big news here. Something that I think that we can really break down because I'm not sure how I feel about it. Maybe I'm wrong in what I'm going to say, but I'll just say it bluntly when I do. The CHL has had a class action lawsuit filed against it by former players Tanner Gold and Isaiah DeLaura over issues related to pay and inability to pick the team they play for. I don't know. It says the CHL previously reached a $30 million settlement over payments for minimum wage, but it was struck down by judges in several provinces. So sounds like they were going to pay minimum wage, but it was not allowed by judges because they're supposed to be amateurs. And one of the quotes here is the system is a cartel that artificially suppresses and standardizes compensation by denying players their freedom of choice, freedom of movement, and freedom to play for the club of their choice. Now, I just want to get into this because I think this is ridiculous. You guys, I don't know if you have anything to say first, but you come to the WHL, one of these kids is from Alberta. The other one is from Minnesota. So they had to pick to play in the WHL. And for them to say that they didn't get a choice is ridiculous because literally the kid from Minnesota, he could have played in the USHL. He could have played in any number of United States leagues. He could have played in the BCHL. He could have played in the KIJHL. He could have played in the Northern Ontario Hockey League. He could have played in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. Yet he chose the WHL as an American player. So where do you guys think this comes from where these kids are like, it's not fair we didn't get to pick our team? The WHL is known to not be a pick your team league. It's a draft league, whether you're an import player from the US or Europe, and it's a draft league if you're a local talent born in both these players played in the WHL, so BC to Manitoba, including Washington State. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Because I think this is I don't know how far they think they're going to get. It's kind of stupid.
This is the first time I've actually heard about it, to be honest. But no, that's crazy. I think, I don't know. It's just like being drafted in the NHL, right? You get drafted into the CHL. You chose that. It's not like a college. It's not like you can have 5 colleges wanting you and you get to choose from them, right? Like it's not a thing.
Yeah, and it goes for any league, right? Like if you play for, Major League Baseball or you want to get drafted to the NFL or the NHL or whatever you have to go through the process like anybody else. You have to get drafted, and that is the process. You can't just say, "Well, I want to
Well,
pick my team." It's just not how it
well,
works.
I mean, I'm pretty
That's an
sure
ego thing.
I think you can go into the league undrafted, but you're trying
Yeah,
out for the team essentially.
Yeah.
oh
But
yeah.
but like, were they? So you're saying they were drafted though, right?
Well, yeah. So I believe that the one guy from Alberta, he looks like he was drafted to the Tri-City Americans, so he was forced to live in America. And then the guy from Minnesota was drafted to the Prince George Cougars, probably in the import draft. So he was put in the import draft, and the Cougars picked him in the import draft. So they both are playing, I guess, out of their country when they first started. But I also want to hit on this too. Let's talk about their games played. Okay. 2021, 2022 for, I believe this is Gold. I think his name was Tyson Gold. Tanner Gold. 2021, 2022, 24 games, 6 points. The next year, 2022-23, 2 games played, traded to Prince Albert Raiders, 0 points. 11 games played for Prince Albert, 0 points. Either quit or was cut, sent to Canmore in the AJHL for only 8 games, had only 1 assist, and then he ended up on the Comox Valley Glacier Kings in the Vancouver Island Junior Hockey League, where he did score 25 points in 28 games this year so far. So, like, where is this complaint coming from? He lives
Yeah.
it. He's from Alberta, and now he's playing in a Vancouver Island team, like, which is in between Tri Cities and Prince Albert. Like, well, Prince Albert's obviously far away, but
He
like saying he didn't get to choose and now choosing to play on Vancouver Island is
he should be
ridiculous.
fortunate. He should be fortunate enough that he got scouted and drafted by a major junior hockey league, such as the Western Hockey League, okay? But you didn't quite cut it out for it. So you know what? You got sent down to junior B, okay? Because you weren't performing at the major junior level to expectations. So I don't know where this complaint is coming to, where you've both said, where is it coming from? Maybe it's an ego thing and you also were underperforming. Okay, there's new and up and coming guys that are going to want your spot, and if you ain't performing, you're going to get cut. There's nothing special about that. Like, you're cut,
Yeah.
you're done. Like, you tried your best. It's time to move on. Don't start filing lawsuits just because you weren't good enough to stay at that level and to stay with the team's expectations. Like, that's totally on you. Just don't take out your temper tantrums out on the league, such as the CHL, because for one, I think it's a total bogus lawsuit. Okay, for one, and like I said earlier, like it's an ego thing. Like, okay, you can't just walk in there and say, "Yeah, I want to get picked by this team, and if I'm not, I'm gonna get throw a temper tantrum." Like, no, you were underperforming, you got cut, big deal, move on.
You know what else is crazy too? They named the NHL as a defendant in the lawsuit, so they're also going after the NHL for helping fund the CHL.
Well, what do you want? The CHL
Like,
is where does half the players get drafted from in the world to go to the NHL? Most of them are CHL draft prospects.
yep.
Yeah, this will
Man,
be
that
their only. This will only be like their 2 seconds of fame. Like you kids aren't going nowhere. Just it is what it is, man. And I feel like they're gonna lose this 100% because you could have easily walked away from the league if you thought it violated your freedom. Walk away. Why are you still? Why are you still trying?
like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. There's freedoms to say, hey, I don't feel comfortable playing here, or like I feel like maybe a trade might be in order for me. But you guys were underperforming. Okay, they sound like you're a superstar out there that wants, to make a run for the playoffs for a more than performing team. No, like you play for PA, the Prince Albert Raiders or the PG Cougars, whatever. Like, if your team knows that they're in a position where they want to win, or if they're losing and their season's just an absolute dud. But no, these were guys that were underperforming. Simple as that. Like, you're not going to win the case. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the goaltender, um, Isaiah Delora, he is from Minnesota, like I said. So he played for Prince George. He played 14 games. He had just under 4 goals against average and an 888 save percentage. Next year, that was in 14 games. Next year, 22 games played. He had 3.4 goals against, so he's got about a half a goal off, and then an 890 save percentage. Then he went to Portland the next year where he only played 8 games. He had 3.3 goals against and .891 save percentage, where he was then traded to Swift Current, played 10 more games, had a .530 goals against average and an .885 save percentage. And his final year was in 2020-2021, where he played 3 games for the Maryland Black Bears in the North American Hockey League. So again, like, he never had over 900.
So are they mad that they didn't get to pick where they got traded to? Like, again, this comes down to a business aspect. If a team offers you certain, like, picks, you're going to choose the better offer. The players should have no say in where they play. Just play hockey.
And that's where I don't get this. It's, you chose the WHL, which has been around for 50 years. This is their business model. Drafting and trading. The BCHL, their business model is team selection, but still trading. You can get traded. No, even if you pick your team in the BCHL, they can trade you wherever they want in the league. Same with the Alberta Junior Hockey League, and I'm pretty sure same with the USHL. So it's like, if you chose to leave Minnesota and come to Canada or our Canadian League and say that you don't get a choice, you already made your choice. Your choice was to play in that league.
The only difference, though, with the BCHL is that in certain trades, there could be future considerations or player developmental fees. So that's the only difference here.
Exactly.
But yeah, wow.
So I wanted to get your guys' perspective on it, because, like,
I think it's bogus.
They're going after the CHL, they're going after the NHL. I don't know, like, and you know what? This was coincidentally very close to when the 2018 World Junior thing was finally, like, announced by the London Police Department. Like, it was a week later. So all of a sudden, are they, like, trying to piggyback on the Hockey Canada, like, bubble that's going on, like, in the media, and they're trying to add their story to it? Because guess what's up next? Another story which happened about 3-4 days after that. Former Sioux Greyhound goalie Tucker Tynan is suing the OHL team, alleging officials mishandled his shoulder injury, insulted him with derogatory slurs, advising him to self-medicate for pain, and pressured him to play through the injury. And it says the OHL, that was just, so another player, there we go, another player suing the OHL basically for racism. So, and the Sioux Greyhounds said that didn't, like, they're obviously defending themselves, saying, like, in their quote was somewhere along the lines of, we trust our staff, we know the people we have, we believe that they care about the kids that are on these teams and stuff like that. So yet another person jumping on that.
Like, I understand, like, if you're being if officials are being accused of using racial derogatory terms and purposely throwing it towards players, that's a case. What's not a case is you complaining and bitching about not being able to select your team when you get drafted or where you want to go to play. No. Now this right here is a very serious matter. Now that needs to be investigated. Not this whole, ooh, I'm going to complain because I want to get traded where I want. Ooh, mommy and daddy paid for me to play here. All my fancy equipment. No. This whole racial stuff, that should be investigated. That's some serious matters going down.
It just seems to be piling on to the amount of stuff, because right after that, what I was just going to read is the Ontario League is investigating the Sudbury Wolves regarding an accusation a bounty was placed on an opposing player. So during Sudbury versus Barrie game on January 18th, Colts defenseman Kashawn Atchison delivered a hard legal hit to Wolves forward Nathan Villano, where there was no penalty on the play. Atchison then fought one of Villanueva's teammates, Nolan Collins. The two teams played against each other 3 days later, but Barrie did not draft Atchison. According to sources, word reached the Colts about the possibility of a bounty being placed on Atchison, so the organization made a decision not to play him. Like, that's just a weird thing. Like, but I've heard this before. Like, I kind of get this where you're in the locker room, right? And, like, you call it a bounty, but it's like, okay, man, whoever can lay that guy out, or, like, the guy who fights that guy tonight, like, teams do this thing in the locker room where if you screw up in practice, right, it might be like a $5 fine, and like there's a fine jar and you have to put money in. It's like if you're a rookie and if your vet says like, hey, carry my gear to the bus or something, and he's like, nope, not doing it. Oh, $20 fine, right? Stuff like that. So if you put a bounty on the player's head, it's like whoever hits him hard or fights him, they get whatever they decided like the money was out of that jar. It's not like a murderous bounty. It's not like someone's gonna go out there and try and kill this kid. I think it was just more on that line. Like I've heard the word bounty be used in that term, where
Like Ryan Hartman and Cole Perfetti.
Yeah,
Remember?
exactly. Ryan Hartman going after Cole Perfetti because Brendan Dillon cross-checked Kirill Kaprizov. Like that's a bounty in the NHL that Ryan Hartman cashed himself. So that's what I think they were talking about. I think that Sudbury or Barry took this a little too far. Like no one was going to, maybe like, okay, we can't say no one was going to get hurt if he was, hit from behind or he did fight and get hurt or something, but no one was going to die in this instance. Like it wasn't a bounty like that. All right, out of those crappy stories for the week, because there's some wild ones, let's get into some good news here. We have a new outdoor game next year, Stadium Series, Detroit versus Columbus at Ohio State's Stadium. What do they call it? The Horseshoe? Hockey at the Shoe, sorry. So, yeah, excited to see hockey in Columbus, because right after that, they fired Jarmo Kekalainen. Thank goodness, boys. Columbus will actually be a team to watch at that game, because they will have a general manager who hopefully fires their current coach, and their rookies will be playing, and it will actually be an exciting game for Columbus fans to attend.
Riley, you must be so happy hearing the news drop about Kekalainen just being fired. Canned, out the door. See ya, buddy. No more roasting him.
I'm thrilled, and
it's good for them, though.
I'm sure they give Pascal Vincent the rest of the year, but after this, he's got to go too. They need to find their GM who hires their next coach. Go forward with that.
This also comes after light of, like we were discussing last episode, of like, switch up the teams, new venues, get some new teams in the rotation there, and that's good that, Columbus and Detroit now have a shot next year at Ohio Stadium, so that'll be fun to watch. Mm-hmm. Some people I see are roasting the hell out of it, but you know what? It's going to be fun to watch, I think. It's almost like Michigan versus Ohio State, like that rivalry, like.
Yeah, and I think, Detroit in any kind of venue, whether it be like a stadium series or an outdoor game, is always fun to watch. And I don't think I've really seen or heard about Columbus having one any time as of late, have they?
They never have. This is their first.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's at home, so that's even perfect, right?
Exactly. And there was good news about the whole stadium series, the New York games with New York, New Jersey, New York, and why am I blanking the fourth one?
Philly.
Was in that? Philly, thank you. There was 9.4 million fans across North America that tuned in to the games this weekend. It was the most watched stadium game since 2019. So good to see. We saw that kid, Matt Rempe. What a cool NHL debut. I want to say this because I saw this stat today. He has 4 games played now, 3 fights, 1 game misconduct, 27 penalty minutes, and I'll add this. He scored today. So he's also got a goal to his name. This kid, he's 6'7", 6'8", whatever he is. He has taken the league by storm, and I love to see it. He seems like just an absolute bull out there.
And it seems like we're getting like a whole new generation of tough guys, honestly. You got the Pospicils out there, now you got the Rempes, the Jack Eyes, and they're all fun to watch, man. Like, these young guys that are just, they're just out there having a good time.
Yeah, especially
the more they say hockey's getting soft, it's so good to see this next age group have these guys that'll just chuck them. And Rempe has not fought weak guys. In his 3 fights in 4 games, he has fought Matt Martin and Nick Delorier. Those
2 of the biggest goons
in this league. And I don't know who he fought in the middle. I missed that. So it could be someone who's a big name as well. But And they're calling Delorier in his fight today the best fight in the last decade with how it went. It was a
They were
tilt.
feeding each
They were
other.
nonstop. It looked fantastic. And again, never take this out of hockey, because that is just beautiful to see these guys go at it. And they respect right at the end of the fight, couple taps, good fight, boys. Move on. This kid's building a name for himself.
It's definitely a respect thing when a young guy is going after, these veterans that have been around doing that their whole careers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got these young guys that are not scared to give them a run for their money. So,
yeah, it's awesome. I love it. But yeah, these Stadium Series games, they were awesome. All the jerseys, I think all the jerseys looked really good live, regardless of what we thought of them. They all looked really good on TV. They showed up. The players showed up. It worked. It was a great event. The NHL hit on this, and hopefully they keep doing stuff, with teams that are going to thrive, like hopefully Columbus, Detroit. And you do unfortunately need those teams that are going to carry a little bit, but hopefully they keep this up, because we want more outdoor games, and us fans, put Otis on the fans. If the game happens, watch the game, fans. Be a part of the 9.4 million so that these continue to happen, so that we can have as many as we get throughout the year, because they are a great time.
This is a controversial thing I wanted to kind of bring up in the episode. I was asked today, what is so special about an outdoor game? And I said, well, the history behind it. Okay, hockey was originally outdoors at once upon a time, in the early days of the birth of hockey. And I think it's more special when you're outside. Okay, yes, you have the bigger venues, so more and more people can come watch you, but also it's just the feeling in the atmosphere, the fans, the coldness, the snow, just the weather, the elements. It feels much more better to play outside, I think. It's just
nothing.
It's better.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, that's all I wanted to say.
Knowing the two, right? So going to a dressing room, going to a rink, there's a few times that you get the butterflies, right? It's your first game of the year, playoff games, tournament games in a new rink, or if you get called up to a higher team and you're playing for that team. Those are the butterfly type situations. You get those excitement butterflies every time you skate on a pond, every time you're on an outdoor rink. It is just different. It's so much fun. Just knowing, my grandpa, literally in Saskatchewan, he tells me stories of how they didn't even have hockey sticks. They just used sticks. Their little pond would freeze over with him and his siblings, and they would grab literally cow patties. Those would be the pucks because they'd be frozen, and they would just hit sticks, and that was their hockey. And just thinking, oh, that's so cool that that's where this originated to where it is today. To think his childhood versus my childhood, in just that one generation of my parents in between. He was playing on a pond with sticks and cow patties, and I was playing in leagues and actually getting to experience hockey on a full-scale level. So such a cool... Every time you go outside, it's just awesome to think like that.
It's the root, going back to the roots, to where it all started almost.
Exactly. All right, last big event they have is they announced in 2026 that the All-Star Game will be held in Long Island, New York. I don't actually even know where it is next year, but they announced it at this event at the Stadium Series that the 2026 All-Star Game will be in New York. So
they're skipping it next year.
Right, because the Olympics, I forgot about that. Right. So yeah, 2026 will be the next All-Star Game on Long Island, New York. So good to see. One of those four teams as well, Philadelphia Flyers, who you reminded me of, they finally named a captain, and they named Sean Couturier their 20th captain in franchise history. I don't know why it took them so long. The team knew he was the captain. The coaches knew he was the captain. I don't know why it took them so long to officially put the C on his jersey. I honestly thought he had it last year before he got hurt, but I guess not. And he came back and they gave him the C, which everyone expected, because he's a heck of a player for Philadelphia.
And he's, I think, probably one of their longest tenured guys on that team, no?
I think he is the longest now.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think he deserves it more than anyone really in that locker room, I think.
Mm-hmm. And the only other guy that's really in contention is Scott Lawton. And he's like quietly in trade talks because of the rebuild, right? Where I don't think you can't really trade Couturier's cap and injury history, so he's kind of stuck in Philly. But Scott Lawton is like the perfect playoff player. So he's been in trade talks. So I think if you wanted to name a captain, you couldn't go with him just because you might trade him potentially. Yeah. And on a little bit of trade news and a little bit of, I guess, sour grapes coming out of Calgary, Blake Coleman says we moved a couple of pieces now that were pretty vocal about not wanting to be here. I think once you eliminate that, the noise at this point, it's not really affecting us. So shade throwing towards Zadorov and Lindholm. So our resident Flames fan, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, he's not wrong. At the same time, now we got Hanafin heavily voicing his want out, I guess. But I mean, he's still there. He's still showing up. He's playing. He's playing great still. I mean, I guess that's just really building his trade value, I guess. But at least he's still showing up for them and playing. And I know for a little bit there, it seemed like Zadorov was seemed uninterested in playing at times, and same with Lindholm. Just guys that you think were just going to be animals on the ice, just kind of, I don't know, they went downhill there for a little bit and went get a couple points here and there, but they were never really consistent with the team. And Hanafin's been a guy that's continuously been consistent. Same with Markstrom. But end of the day, I mean, Coleman's probably not wrong.
Yeah, let's jump into that. I had that a ways ahead, but it's actually a perfect segue here. Let's talk about Noah Hanafin noting from Frank Saravalli that he would like the Tampa Bay Lightning to be his destination of choice. Just saying. I'm pumped about it, but realistically, I know what you say and what we've talked about is Tampa doesn't really have anything to match Hanafin's quality of player in a trade.
It also just comes down to cap, really, as well.
Well, now we have all that because Sergachev's $9.5 million is on LTIR.
And you need to replace him fast.
But it's not even that. It's at the end of the year when Stamkos is up and Sergachev will be back.
Hanafin's up.
Yeah, so I mean,
Hedman's up next year.
I think Hanafin to Tampa, if Tampa really wants him, it's going to be future wise,
Yeah.
Whether it's they figure something out in the off season from whatever team gets him, or 2 or 3 years down the line, right?
Yeah.
You never know. Like he might sign somewhere else, but it might be short term. So
yeah, I've been trying to think of like how he came to that decision. Like who on Tampa played with him at some point, or who on Calgary. Like Blake Coleman just said that. Like now that the noise has stopped, but Coleman's the only one on the Flames who played for the Lightning. Obviously, when he won those 2 cups, but I don't know if Hanafin played with DeHaan. I don't think he played with DeHaan. So it's like
he might have been Carolina.
I don't know if he was just the last couple of years, or I'm not even sure. Maybe he did, but so maybe DeHaan is telling him what it's like there. But like, I don't know how he just decided. Nope, Tampa's it. Like this.
I mean,
this
I know
one place.
I know Tkachuk was heavily trying to recruit him to Florida. So I mean, maybe it could just be. Maybe it's just a friendly competition for him now, but
could be.
Yeah, I don't know. Hanafin in a blue jersey, man. I don't know if I can see it.
Fine, we'll just switch to black permanently for you. There you go.
Fair
just
enough.
for Hanafin. And on the trade talk news as well, our resident Pittsburgh fan, you can break down Nylander in a conditional 2026 6th-round draft pick to Columbus for Emil Bemstrom. The conditional pick is if Bemstrom scores 6 goals the rest of the season with Pittsburgh, the 6th-round pick in 2026 becomes a 3rd-round pick. some of the weirdest stipulations I've ever heard. But go for it, Dally. Break that one down.
I honestly don't know what Kyle Dubas is doing. He is literally acting like a fraud out there, okay? He was known for these like kind of moves in Toronto, okay? The first order of business, and like yes, I'm gonna start recapping, but not so much, okay? We all know about the Erik Karlsson trade. That was his first order of business, was big splash. Let's get it done, okay?
Yeah.
What has that gotten you? What has that gotten you, okay? You're hardly a 500 team. You're just gonna maybe catch up to the last two wildcard teams. Maybe. But highly unlikely, okay? You guys can barely play any 5-on-5, okay? You went on a stretch of 0 for 36 on the power play with the addition of Karlsson, okay? Okay, you had Letang, who was out for a little bit, and then he scored a 6-point game. Okay, great, that was awesome. But when you start moving pieces like Nylander, who is a fringe AHL starter, like, what are you doing? Okay, like, you should know by now if you're in the hunt, okay? Start thinking rebuild or salvage the season. Like, you should know by now, before we go into the deadline, which is 2 weeks away, by the way, if you're going to salvage the season and try to go all in with Sid and the gang, or you're just going to start selling off. Personally, what I would like to see is just start selling, okay? You guys are old enough. Oldest team in the NHL, average of 30 years, okay? That's the average age. I honestly think that Sid, honestly, God save him. Let him finish out his career somewhere else for a contender, because Pittsburgh, I'm sorry to say, they're done. Their dynasty is over. There's hardly anything you can salvage. Like, you took a bust when you got Erik Karlsson and it hasn't panned out for his Norris Trophy season like you did last year. And I think any Yins for that matter, can agree that this season is a dud. Like, total disappointment. People say New Jersey's having a dud season. No, Pittsburgh is having the worst season in the NHL by far.
I mean, besides of what you just said there, your little tantrum there, rant, whatever, I still can't get over the condition of the pick.
Yeah.
Like, how pissed do you think Bemstrom would be right now, going to the new team being like, wow, if I only score 6? Like, what if Buddy just went on a tear and just scored, like, 15?
Yeah, he has 25, 28 games or something to do it, or 30. Like,
you know, like, I would hope that he would try to get those 6 goals just to be like, yeah, screw you, man.
Yeah,
like
like, I take that personally.
Like, I think as Mario Lemieux should start considering what's going on here. Like, I got Ron Hextall in here for a few years, totally just destroyed the team. And now I got Kyle Dubas coming in here, and he's just absolutely doing dick all. I'm sorry, he's doing dick all. Like, I think Gensel needs to go. You get at least a first round pick for him, set him to a contender, get a high draft pick, or not, sorry, a high prospect for him, and that'd be it. You know, I think a Tampa Bay, a Vancouver Canucks could even use him, like, it just, or even Colorado, okay? They got all that LTIR money for Gabriel Landeskog. I honestly think that a lot of the big core pieces should just be able to get sent off and start rebuilding anew, okay? The Pittsburgh Penguins are known for the dark days. Okay, everyone knows it. They almost went to Kansas City, twice. But I think that they better start doing something fast before that happens again, okay? Because if Mario didn't draft Sid, they would have been already shipped off to Kansas City before they got that new arena built. Don't let it happen again for a third time. Save this team now.
Here's the thing. I think you do trade Gensel, but you try and trade him to a team that you can get 2 players for 1. Like a defender and a forward. Like, because even if you trade Sid, it's not going to be this year. So you've already committed. You got Karlsson. You got Crosby, Malkin. You know you can't pay Gensel no matter what you do. So you might as well try and get 2 roster pieces out of them. A team that, like, you're just looking middle 6 forward and second pair D. You're not looking for anything crazy. So you can find that in Gensel. Hopefully they have 2 to 3 years on their contract at a good amount, like 2 to 3 million each. And you kind of find your money. Because yeah, like you said, they're locked in. Karlsson's untradeable, right?
No one's gonna want to pick up that big ass contract.
The only team that was willing to do that for him was Pittsburgh, and they did it. And now there's rumors of Crosby wanting out, like you said. Nothing about Malkin because
he's their best player.
Exactly.
He is their best player, 5-on-5. It is crazy. Yeah. He's playing like he's 23 years old again. Classic Sid, vintage Sid. But he can't do it all. He cannot do it at 37 years old. He
Not
cannot
like
carry
he
that
used
team
to.
on his back anymore.
Mm-hmm. And
It's ridiculous.
they just
They're
need
frauds.
to get him in depth. And I don't know what they can do. I mean, they should. Any draft picks they have in the next 3 years, they should trade them all, because what is the point? If you have Sidney Crosby, you're not drafting. You're trying to win now. So just do what Tampa did. Sell any prospects that are worth anything. And get actual NHL players. Get people to take cap off your team by bundling them with players or picks, and bring in upgraded players on cheaper contracts to fill out your roster more. That's the only thing they can do. And it sucks. It sucks for Pittsburgh fans, because they're going to be in a situation like Tampa is right now. The second wild card spot, Kucherov leading the league in points, and
They only have
barely
20
hanging on.
grand in cap space. 20 grand. That is it.
That's what I mean.
That is so narrowly tight.
And the one thing that kind of sucks also for Pittsburgh is, for the prospects that actually are worth anything, it's probably only their last couple of years, right? It's probably the guy who they got last year.
Jagr. Brendan Jagr.
Jagr, Braden Jagr.
Yeah, Braden Jagr and Pickering, I would say. The other ones Pittsburgh's basically ruined.
Yep. Sam Poulin, Nathan Laguerre.
Even Joseph.
Oh, Daniel Sprong. Daniel Sprong was allegedly supposed to be the next Crosby, okay? He came over from the Charlottetown Islanders of the Q. He didn't pan out because they let these guys they rot in the minors too long in the Pittsburgh organization, and they start fluttering out. They're done. So they don't develop them well very much down there. Like Tristan Jarry, Jake Gensel, Brian Rust, the only notable prospects other than Drew O'Connor I've seen that has come out of the AHL for Pittsburgh that's made an actual impact.
I think Gensel is for sure gone by the deadline. For sure.
Oh, yeah.
And the one thing I'll give Kyle Dubas credit for is he's a GM that's not scared to make a move, clearly.
Yep.
So,
well, here's my thing though: is they don't own a first round pick this year. They have a second, a fourth, and a sixth. I think they should start just bulking on draft picks. Start building the future again. And like you said, Riley, though too, is get at least a roster size player in there too.
Well, listen to these players and how many of them are top 6 players to you. Brian Rust, Rickard Rakell, Jeff Carter, Lars Eller, Noel Acciari. How many of those guys are top 6 forwards in the NHL?
maybe back in the day, Rickard Rakell.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's listen to these cap hits. Rickard Rakell, $5 million. Brian Rust, $5.125 million. Noel Acciari, $2 million. Lars Eller, $2.45 million. Jeff Carter, $3 million. If you can trade those 5 guys for whatever, you have to bundle picks with them, but then you use that cap to add players to this roster, they'll be so much better. Like, how does Rickard Rakell have a 5-year by $5 million cap hit? How does Brian Rust have 5 years by $5.125 million? How does Noel Acciari get 3 years by $2 million with a no trade clause? Like, minute modified.
That's where you just shake your head, man.
He's got an 8-team no trade list. Lars Eller is the only one with no trade. I mean, you have to trade him. You have to get rid of his $2.45 million. And then on defense,
good luck doing any of those trades without retaining any salary, though, too.
Well, you got to do it to the teams that want draft picks, and you just say, "Here's a free fifth, just to take this contract," and you're rebuilding it. Like, look at Chicago. You tell me Chicago won't just take Lars Eller?
Oh, Chicago maybe would take.
They'd be like, okay. They'd be like, sure, we'll take Lars Eller for 2 years.
Right there.
Think of Sean Monahan. Montreal acquired 2 first-round picks for him for getting him and getting rid of him. Like,
exactly.
Just to take on the cap, but man,
and even on defense, how good? Like, I don't really know this, but how good is Marcus Pettersson? Dallas.
He's fringe. He's not even that great. I mean, he came over from Anaheim. He's pretty solid defensively wise. Last game I watched, he got a goal, but I mean, he's nothing like an Erik Karlsson. John Marino, still to this day, he's They should never trade him to New Jersey.
I love
A
John
young
Marino.
defenseman for Ty Smith, who you've never called up, hardly ever. Like, just
Again, another
stupid, dumb
prospect
trades.
ruined.
Yeah, Brian Dumoulin sent off to fucking Seattle. You know, he was a great defenseman. I loved Brian Dumoulin. Should never have let him walk.
He's heart and soul guy that you need. But Marcus Pettersson, $4.025 million. And then Ryan Graves, who they just signed 6 years, $4.5 million. Like, they're wondering where all their money went, and you can just see it. Like, I actually like the Riley Smith signing. I know he's kind of struggled there, but 2 years at $5 million, or the trade for him or whatever they did, like, whatever, that's fine. Like,
He's
I
a good
think Riley
utility
Smith,
player.
I think he's a good player. But like all these other guys, you can literally see where the cap is eating their team. And you can see the very simple breakdown they need to do to change the team. And it just doesn't seem like they can do it. And yeah, it's going to suck. Like, they have no first, they have no third, no fifth this year, and they have no second next year. But like, that shouldn't matter. It should be, okay, you need to bundle Ricard Raquel's 5x5 contract with a first. Do it. Like, get him out of here. And then you can start looking at, okay, there's $5 extra million in cap. Now what can we do? Yes, unfortunately, trade Gensel for multiple roster players. But again, that's extra cap coming in. And like, you just need to look at where can you break this down. And there's some of these guys that are worth things to teams that you may be able to find, like Tampa did. Blake Coleman, he was a nobody in New Jersey. Barclay Goodrow was a nobody. Yanni Gourde, they found in the ECHL. He luckily graduated up. Like, the guys that you need on your team, they're not necessarily the best players, but you can get them. And they just need to fill out your team the way that your team plays the game. So
I can't remember the last time I approved of Pittsburgh Penguins trade. Like, I can't remember the last time I actually agreed with a certain trade. Like this Alex Nylander one. Like, just these aren't the types of moves you should be making right now. Like, start doing the bigger set in stone things that you need to prepare for the rest of the year. Like, are you guys rebuilding or are you guys still competing? Like, we need to know these things because I already see it. You guys are done. Like, don't even try. You guys are gonna end up like Chicago.
And I actually like the Bemstrom trade. I think that Bemstrom is a player who could turn out. I think he's one of those guys in Columbus who just got ragged on. Like, he just wasn't given the opportunity. He ended up in the press box a lot. I think if you give him a shot, he's good, and I think he's better than Alexander Nylander. So obviously the fact that, yes, they're trading a pick for him, because if he scores 6 goals in 25 games, that's a pretty decent pace for next year. That's like a 20-goal pace for next year. So it's worth an extra. It's basically like Nylander's worth nothing. So it's like a 3rd-round pick for Bemstrom, and you're fine. But if he doesn't score 6 goals this year, it's only like a 6th-round pick for Bemstrom. So to me, it's not that big of a deal. If he overperforms, great. If he underperforms, great. Like, you were right where you were. You had Nylander not performing. So it really isn't like a lose-lose situation. I just think it's I've never seen a breakdown like that. That's all. All right. More LTIR news, but for the Rangers, Blake Wheeler is on LTIR with a lower body injury and will not return during the regular season. He is even unlikely to come back for the playoffs, depending on recovery and how far the team progresses. So, unfortunate news for Wheeler after signing that contract, kind of starting fresh and having a decent start to the year, but he really fell off in the middle part of the season. So, hopefully he can get healthy, but he's been slow for a couple of years already. He's been less effective, so getting a season-ending injury, not exactly the best news for his career arc, especially on a one-year deal.
Yeah, you want to talk about an acquisition. That was one of New York's weakest, man. They were going in with a lot of hope on that one, and he has underperformed so bad.
But at least it was $800K. Like, what? They just basically threw pennies at him. And
well, he's going to get pennies back with that New York State tax, let me tell you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Some exhibition game news for next year that they announced. Buffalo Sabres will play in Munich for exhibition games, and then they will take on New Jersey in Prague for 2 games to kick off the 2024-2025 season. And then Dallas will play Florida in Tampere, Finland for 2 games. And also there will be an all-star game. Oh, yeah, in 2026 and 2027. So sorry, that was where we saw. That was just kind of a flag news. But that's about the New York ones. So, yeah, just a couple games overseas again to start the season, which is good to see. We always like to grow the game over in Europe, so it's nice to see them getting a couple games over there.
Love the
Players
global
love
series.
it. Exactly. It's very fun. From NHL player safety, St. Louis, Jordan Binnington has been fined $5,000, the maximum allowable under the CBA for high-sticking Nashville's Luke Evangelista. And man, is this guy a scrub.
Put it in the podcast, Riley. So for those watching, like just watch the replay. Okay, like he's standing his stance in the crease, okay? He purposely takes his knob and he makes sure he's sticking it out right as he comes around the net and just pokes him like he's trying to get him right between the eyes.
It's him
like,
right in the face.
No surprise here, okay? Jordan Binnington, holy crap, okay? You are the most dirtiest player I've ever seen. Get off the ice. This guy needs to be out of the league. Okay?
Yeah.
Every time you hear a headline about Jordan Binnington, never good. Ever. He thinks he's so much better than everybody else. He's cocky, he's arrogant, and he's just a hothead. There's no need for that.
And that right there is a prime reason
Dangerous.
why I don't condone him being one of Canada's 3 goalies. He's a wild card. He does stupid stuff when things get heated, and he doesn't even do them in a proper way. He gets caught every single time that he does something stupid. And him playing for Canada would be a massive flight risk for him to do something stupid and cost the team. So, no.
Especially against an international team. Like, you want to talk about bounties.
Oh, yeah. And just
that's
think
okay.
for one second. So, Jordan Binnington, hottest head goalie in the league, right? Okay, we have Team United States, who brings out line 1, Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk. 2 of the guys who get in the crease more than anyone else in the National Hockey League. Like, what's he going to do?
They'll make his night hell, for sure.
Yeah. And guess who's their center? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's Austin Matthews. Like, good luck with that line. They're going to be just cramming the crease while Austin Matthews is sniping past him. And he's just going to be crying to the rest the whole night. So, no. Not him. Not a chance.
For anyone who's saying that he should be in the talks for the 3rd goalie and then Canada, like, get out of here, okay?
I've seen starter talks. I've seen starter choices for Binnington.
Are you okay? Like, honestly, are you okay? Like, that is not in any world should be a go. Like, there are so much better candidates to start in net than Jordan Binnington. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, I'm glad he got pumped today by Detroit. 4 goals against. I'm glad he got pumped tonight, and then he got replaced by Hofer.
Good.
Maybe he should cool down and come back down to earth, buddy.
I still say Canada's goalie starting should be Adin Hill. Just because 100%. he won the cup. He's not a great goaltender, but he at least just plays goalie. Like, he's nothing flashy, but he gets the job done. And I agree that Connor Ingram should definitely be in this conversation. We talked about this a couple pods ago, but Ingram should definitely be in the conversation. But yeah, not Binnington. That's the moral of the story. Do not put Jordan Binnington on Team Canada, because not only might he do something, he will be targeted by US. Like you said, Dak, talk about a bounty. US will be like, okay, first one to crash the net, like, you get $5,000 bonus, right? Like,
right.
He's gonna bring the whole. He's
first one to make Canada bring in their backup.
Yeah. First one to get slashed in the back of the head by Binnington wins $1 million. Like, yeah. Because then he's done for the tournament.
And then if he ain't, like, trying to poke someone's eyes out, he's just going to be sitting on the bench throwing a hissy fit. And then, that's not a locker room guy you want on the national stage, okay? When you bring a whole pool of talented players and you're going to add one of those dark horses, wild card guys on the team, you just don't need that for international competition. Like, we don't need that risk, especially as a starter goalie.
Hopefully the coach for Canada has a brain.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Speaking of tenders getting lit up, the NHL had 2 9-2 games in the same night for the first time in 100 years. Toronto beat Anaheim 9-2. And unfortunately for me, it was a very tough night because the Florida Panthers destroyed Tampa 9-2. So, I mean, that's just crazy. Over 100 years since 2 games in the same night, 9-2. And then the very next night, we have the Wild West shootout, Vancouver, Minnesota, that had 3 hat tricks in one game and a 10-7 final for Minnesota. Like, what a wild couple of days of hockey it was. I got some stats here that we can go over it.
And Minnesota did their comeback all in the third period alone.
Exactly. And the 3 hat tricks were by Eric Sinek, JT Miller, and Kirill Kaprizov. 5 players had 3 assists. Eric Sinek, Kaprizov, Boldy, Zuccarello, and Suter. So yes, that meant Eric Sinek and Kaprizov had 6 points. Eric Sinek was on the ice for 12 goals in 21 minutes and 22 seconds. That's goals for and against. He was on for 12. Vancouver was winning 5-3 at the end of the second and lost 10-7. Allowing 3 goals in the 4th fastest time in NHL history, which was 5 minutes and 45 seconds. So this game was just full of records. It was full of crazy statistics. It was just full of hectic times, and I loved every minute of it.
Have you noticed they haven't been the same since Elias Lindholm joined the team, boys?
Yeah, they won their first game, and they've been on a bit of a slump.
I think also Zadorov is showing his true colors in Vancouver. You know, Zadorov has a point where he's hot, and then there's games where Zadorov is just absolute garbage.
Yep. Tyler Myers, same thing.
Exactly.
And they're a D pair, so if they're both cold, good luck. That's 12,
if
12
they're
feet
having,
of useless.
If they're having an off day together, dude, like you might as well pull the goalie.
Yeah, you might as well.
Free goal, regardless.
Just don't even play that pair.
Like, you might as well play 5 forwards.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That team, it's dangerous. They can kill you, but they can fall apart quickly. And that's not the mark of a championship team.
They need to get out of that not President's Trophy. They need to get out of that first place.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I think it was the same night or rather the next night too. The Maple Leafs scored 4 goals in a game, and all of them were a different way. They scored 5-on-5. They scored on the power play. They scored shorthanded, and they scored an empty netter in a 4-2 win. So very rare when you get the grand slam of hockey in terms of goals and the way you score them. So I thought that was a pretty neat stat to just throw in there quick, because it's pretty rare especially to get just, let alone a shorthanded goal in general, but to line it up with a power play goal, an empty netter, and 5-on-5 goal, like, that's kind of wild.
You bring up the term Grand Slam. I just want to quickly touch base with MLB starting today with spring training. The New York Yankees just thrashed the Detroit Tigers 22-10.
Ouch.
And
did you see the Dodgers spank the Padres too?
Oh yeah, with their like over a $2 billion worth team and payroll, like crazy. Yeah, watch out, boys! LA is on a heater this year.
It's just spring training. You know it's spring training when you score 22 runs, but it's still bad that you scored 10 against. Like, it's 10 runs against at any time is terrible. So you know that absolutely no one is warm. No one's arms are feeling it. The pitchers are just throwing 85 miles an hour down the plate, and the batters are just at T-box, just hitting for fun. Like, yeah,
that's the Toronto game too. Today, 14-13 final. Like,
yeah, exactly.
2 games today in spring training, both just in double digits.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like it's when NHL teams, like, if you're on the road, you bring your rookies, and if the team is home, they have their NHL vets. It's like the team that's pitching puts their rookies out there, and the team that's batting puts like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to the plate. So it's like some kid that's in his first game out of college pitching to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and he's just one bombs him immediately out of the park. And it's like, well, this is going to go well. And then you get a 14-13 score, which you get like what out of the thousands of games that are in the MLB, like you get double digits for both teams, probably like 30 games a year, but like yeah, not that consistently. Not where it's 22-10, 14-13 in the same night. Like that's crazy.
Baseball has so many statistics, like wind change, and then if you're playing an indoor stadium or outdoor, the weather elements, like just there's so much
Yeah,
behind it
it's
too.
random. It's a very
It's
random
very
sport,
random.
and yet somehow it gets more viewers than hockey. Unfortunately, okay,
America's
we got a
pastime
couple.
sport, man.
I know it's a good sport. I like it.
I love
Not
baseball.
not gonna lie, I hated it when I was young. I loved playing it when I was young, but I couldn't watch it. And then you find like a new respect for it once you get older. It's definitely an old person sport, as that is to say, dude. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
yeah,
I'm not even that old.
when you're in high school and you're playing with like kids who are picking their nose in science class, and they like kid in right field isn't gonna move, so you just crank a infield home run straight at that kid and run the bases, and then you get like old and fat, and you're like, see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. like he got to first, but like, yeah, I could get to first, like no problem. And you feel this pride. You're like, this is a slow man sport. You're like, so I think, should I play slow ball?
Hey
Like,
man,
should I
there's
start
some
playing?
big guys out on that field, dude, that just hit
Dude,
dangers, dude.
yeah. They know. They're like, I either have to hit it out of the park or I'm out. There's no
they're
way.
like three things can happen here. I can hit first, I can hit out, or I can hit a home run.
Yep. That's it.
But there's no second base for me.
Yeah. If I strike out, it's a failure. That can't happen.
Yeah.
Hit the ball. Yeah, no. So yeah, I definitely get more respect for it as I get older, because I'm like, yeah, that's just standing there lazily, like, oh, that's pretty easy.
Well, you know what? I mean, I feel like that's got to be hard in the shoulders too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Those guys get all their shoulder and elbow surgeries. We
Especially if
used
you're a
to.
third baseman, you got to really throw over your shoulder when you're trying to throw it across the diamond
Yeah.
on a hot fly. Like it's harder than you think.
Oh yeah, it's the accuracy part of it's crazy, and when you see guys throwing like 100 miles an hour now from the outfield to home plate to try and beat the run, like that's crazy, because usually it's just pitchers who can pitch that hard, and all of a sudden you get an outfielder clocking over 100 miles an hour with a throw. You're like, okay, this is getting pretty athletic all of a sudden, the whole sport.
Actually, you know what gave me a respect for the sport? Have you guys ever watched that old show, Pros versus Joes?
No,
Eh, I don't.
Uh,
I do not.
So
You want
the
to break it?
pros were like actual league players, and the Joes were like just amateur guys, right? And your goal was to like pick your pro that you play against, and you do like different events.
Yeah.
And this was like an old Spike Channel show, so um, but yeah, no, there were some baseball ones where like they would have them throw through glass, and
Okay.
the pros would dominate that one. The Joes were absolute dust, but like
They get like one.
they would show their mile per hour thing, and they'd break through all, like one guy cleared all the glass windows, and I was like,
Jeez,
damn.
that's crazy.
Well, I remember like when I was like 15, 16 years old, playing at a field like when left and right are like 350 to the fence, and like
Yep.
there's hardly any guys hitting even home runs. Like it's hard, you know. Well, maybe even at that age, but like for Houston travel league, like a lot of the guys that come in are just playing pickup, right? Like they don't try to be competitive or try to go to college or whatever, but like it's fun nonetheless. Like I loved playing baseball growing up, but like the science behind it is crazy when you think of it. Like you need like zero point 0.7 of a second to figure out if you're going to want to swing or not. So your reaction time needs to be swift. Like it's just it's crazy.
Yeah.
The science
No, dude,
behind playing baseball.
I just preferred the rubber ball that made you feel like you were on roids when you hit it with the bat. That's what I
And
prefer.
aluminum bats.
Gym class, those rubber balls that just took off after you hit them. Oh yeah, those were sweet. Those made you feel like you were big.
I mean, the difference also in high school is nobody was throwing fastballs at you. It was all underhand tosses. So if you got a homer on one of those, you were like, yeah.
It was always the girl that didn't want to run the most. That was the pitcher.
So the ball would just go right by her hand.
I know exactly.
Just duck down.
She'd just be throwing ducks to you, and you'd be like, "Thanks, this is gone." like you said, Dally.
Everyone's Babe Ruth in gym class when she's on the mound.
Dally's like 0.7 seconds to answer. Like, no, dude, that chick threw me like 13 seconds in the air. Like, I just got to time this thing to a T.
You could have tied your shoes, got up, and then get back in the batter's box for your stance, man.
Exactly, and then just it's going here. You're just looking at poor Timmy out there in left field, like, don't even run. This is gone.
I can't believe your guys' school did that. Like, at my high school, we were known for the athletics. So, like, we had, like, a Windsor Stadium next door for football, and we had Jackson Park with all the baseball diamonds. But, like, in our gym class, we never used them for football or baseball. We honestly just played basketball indoors all the time. Maybe we were lucky to go outdoors to do, running track, run laps around the school.
Well,
you guys are lucky.
A couple times in my gym class, we actually got to go down to the baseball fields there. Like,
we went to the Diamonds.
Yeah, just a couple times, not all the time. Other than that, we would just play on the football field.
And I wish, we had the amenities, just never used them.
We played snow football. We'd go out in the middle of winter and we'd play football. And we would do like rugby. Yeah, we did it all, man. We were outside all the time.
Oh, it was sick. So with my gym teacher was my football coach, and anytime we played football, like if we had flags, we'd use them too. But like we would also do tackle with no gear. It was great.
It's always a blast. And when the football coach is the gym teacher, man, he was awesome. You know that things were getting wild. Then you'd see guys just crank each other, and he just like, I didn't see anything.
Right? He's like, they're kids.
There was a rule: don't tackle the girls. Obviously, don't tackle anyone.
I mean, there was a couple of girls that were the athletic ones that you were scared to touch, and then you realize that they're an absolute brute.
Yeah, they just beast you. You go to grab their flag, they just stiff arm you in the face. You're like, oh,
dude, that happened to me. That happened to me in a gym class rugby game, dude. I was going to tackle one, and she took me down, dude. I was like, damn.
Got flipped on quick.
I just remember the gym teacher being like, oh, make me feel worse, buddy.
Yeah.
The one thing though, boys, is that you don't want to get smoked in the helmet by a fastball, though. I will say that. That is the one thing.
Sounds like a good time, honestly.
Underhand, you can just crank a dinger off somebody, but when you guys are playing fast pitch, fuck, look out.
I don't think I've ever played fast in my life. Like, because I've only ever played in gym class, and like I said, it's always...
Dude, the one time I did have a fastball thrown to me, it bounced off the ground and cranked me in the knee, and I was like, yeah, never again.
That's it.
Those deflects, they'll get you.
Yeah, that was... I just prefer gym class baseball. Just like gym class volleyball. You feel so good.
Or even kickball, dude. Kickball was pretty sick.
Yeah, kickball. Kickball's better than baseball, I'll say that.
Imagine getting a strike in kickball.
Wait, you guys call we used to call our soccer baseball. That's crazy.
Oh, that's late. It's kickball, man.
Yeah, we called... Well, I mean, soccer, baseball, kickball. I mean, you can call
it depended on the person, but it was probably
most
like
of the time
95.
it was kickball for me. Yeah.
You know what's so stupid? Instead of playing it outdoors, we would play inside the gymnasium. I'm like, how the hell do you... Oh, you did it too?
Sometimes.
Like, how the hell do you make that work? You know?
Did you play with the massive mats? Like the big...
We did.
Yeah, that's
as the bases.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, just going crazy.
I mean, it was fun, but like outdoors, you have to do it outdoors, man. You got to make them run for it, so it's like authentic, like you're running for the baseball, and then you just got to throw it back to home plate.
In Ontario, did you guys ever play kickball dodgeball, where once the ball was kicked, it was like to get you out, they had to hit you with it. So they could throw it from anywhere and crank you like that. That was fun. That was always interesting because you could just pull some crazy stuff as the runner and then just keep going. Like
I feel like in grade school we did.
We were allowed to run until we were out. So like we would get like 3, 4, 5 home runs just running around the same lap until you got out.
Because if you can keep dodging it, right? Every time they try to hit you with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
I feel like we played it before.
That's a good time. All right, should we jump back into it? That was sweet. I love that. Gym class. It's the best time ever. Makes you want to be a
I'm-
gym teacher just to like be the cool gym teacher. Just
I
get
loved
to do nothing all day.
I loved my old high school gym teacher real fast though because he always wanted to play floor hockey, and it was the best. So I'm glad we were able to play a
Those were
lot of
good
floor
years,
hockey.
too.
Yeah.
Did you guys have like keeping on subject? Did you guys have like a curriculum? Like we had an actual curriculum. Like you had to play basketball these weeks, volleyball these weeks, badminton this week. Like there would be everything would be broken down throughout the year. So you played like every sport. We even had to do dance 1 week.
I think that was 1 year of high school for me. Every other year was kind of like you just figure it out.
I mean, but there would be like a lot of free weeks, but there was like a curriculum where they had to at least do so many weeks of each sport, and then that was it.
In grade 9 and 10, we definitely had that like curriculum thing you're mentioning, but like as it went on for like 11, 12, and even my 13th year, like they didn't give a fuck what you did half the time. Like,
Imagine
if,
having a 13th year though.
Oh, that bothers me.
imagine.
You guys count kindergarten as great as first year, don't you?
No, we in high school, you can come back for a 13th year.
Oh, okay, no, we don't have that. We just have. Well, I guess you could if you failed. I guess you could come back as like an overager.
Well, it's not even if you fail. I mean, if you want to pick up extra academic credits so you can put it towards, your application to university, you can come back.
Oh yeah, no, we weren't
So
about that. It was just graduate, get the heck out of here, kid.
fair enough. But
Yeah.
yeah, quickly. So like the curriculum, yeah, it was there, but also like they usually let you pick. Like, the majority of class, what do you want to do today? There was a lot of us hockey guys in gym class, so it's like we're gonna play floor hockey today, which was awesome. But the only person that wanted to play in goalie was myself. So
You know what's
you know,
dusty
You got
about
peppered.
gym class hockey? Being the goalie for one, because that mask has been worn for
Years.
20 plus years.
Years.
Like
COVID just not COVID approved.
like I bet your parents wore that helmet before you, like that's how old those helmets are. And
what was dusty is that like we barely had any like goalie pads. So like after every gym class every day, my knees were swollen. I had to go down to the principal's office to get ice bags and sit in my geography class next period with ice on my fucking knees because
That's
those.
committed, man. That's
Oh, it
committed.
was. I was jumping and diving and smacking my knees on the hardwood floor. It was fun. I didn't mind it, but you know what? Those pads were so dainty and old, like hardly protected your knees. And then so sometimes I would say, "Fuck, I'm not even gonna wear fucking goalie pads. I'm just gonna fucking, man it
Just
up,
gonna
tough
stand
it
there.
up. Yeah, just stand there. Let me just get
Nice.
plunked."
or you got
Oh,
like
dude, I
old,
miss high school now.
or you got those old plastic hockey sticks that have like green or blue tips, and there's like ones with like curves like
Oh, and
that.
you'd bend them to get your right flex.
Or there'd be some that are just so like flexible that the whip would be insane.
You remember I'd use that one,
Those
man?
were the
It was
best.
short. It was short, and I could hold it at the top, and I could touch the ground with it, and then whip a shot. It was ridiculous.
Oh, those were the best.
Yeah. Apparently, they're getting rid of those now. Have you seen the new hockey sticks? They're like giant foam paddles that are like this thick and then like that wide, and they're just foam on like the blade, and then it's just a cheap plastic, and then the balls are like big round foam balls now. They don't
Lame.
actually use
That's
like,
lame.
and so that's for safety purposes. Like, yeah, have I seen 3 to 10 kids get their head sliced open with hockey sticks? For sure, I have. But that's a part
Dude,
of growing up.
I used to have like a specific stick, and anytime we'd go to play, I'd be bitching saying, "Make sure no one fucking touches my stick,"
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I
It's
had a
your
good
shit.
enough flex on it. Yeah, exactly. No one wanted to touch it, but it was good. Oh
I hid
man,
mine. I hid mine.
that's smart.
And you know what the crazy thing is? The people that would hide items would hide them under the bleachers.
Oh, I just hid it in the room. I just put it in a corner in the room
I
because it
remember
was a
some
small
hockey
one.
sticks guys would be like, I wonder if that stick's still there, and they'd put their hand under the bleachers that like pull out bleachers.
Yeah,
Yeah, they'd go in and see if there's sticks under the bleachers still, and sometimes it would be.
that's crazy.
I'm like, that's wild, dude.
All right, let's hop back into it here. We got Patrick Kane, 800 assists. Congratulations to him. And Kucherov played his 700th game. He had, on this list, most career points through 700 games in the Cap era. McDavid was 931, Crosby 930, Ovechkin 834, Malkin 825, and then Nikita Kucherov 823. And there were only 3 active players with more points than Kucherov, 823 and 699 games played through their first 700 games. Crosby, Ovechkin, and Malkin, the only active players with more points than Kucherov. So that's pretty cool to see. A couple guys got signed. Michael Rasmussen, his 4-year, $3.2 million extension. That's going to bite Detroit in the butt. That is way too much money for way too many years for him. Johnny Brodzinski signed in New York, 2 years, $785K, and it is a one-way contract, so good for him. A perennial minors and NHL kind of back and forth guy gets a one-way contract. And then Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews scored his 50th goal. Now he's at like 53 or something, but he scored his 50th goal. He's the fastest U.S.-born player in history to hit 50 goals in a season, reaching it in just 54 games. He also has the fewest games to score 350 goals in NHL history. He is, 7th on this list? Gretzky took 384, Lemieux 434, Hull 448, Bossy 453, Yari Curry 510, and then Austin Matthews 534. And then Luc Robitaille was next at 560. So he's in that top list of players to score. And what's crazy, if you notice, Alexander Ovechkin is not on that list. So
Austin Matthews is going to score more goals. I swear. You watch.
I keep hearing stuff, and it's so true. It's how much is it going to suck that Ovechkin battled his whole career to beat Gretzky just for Matthews to maybe beat it by the time he's like 32. Like,
he's on a better
be crazy.
More
and I hate that. Like, I've been cheering for Ovechkin this whole time, and Matthews is probably going to do. Now, injuries can happen, and heck, goal scoring slumps can happen. Like, we saw him go from 60-something to 40-something last year, so it can happen. But if he scores 75 this year, plus, if he hits 80, like, not even himself will do that again. Like, there's no one that can do that. And I actually want to talk to you about this, Dallas, because I talked to Dakota about it slightly. Do you think he should be in the MVP conversation? Because I don't.
Austin Matthews?
Yes.
I personally think he should be. He's a very valuable player to his team, but also he is proving each season that he can contend to get the Rocket Richard. Sorry, yes.
Yeah. No, I knew.
Like, it's just, I think Austin Matthews is a great player on and off the ice. He's a great guy. You know, he plays hard. And like I was trying to say earlier, like, I seen a post where at the rate he's scoring now, like, he's almost, if not better than Ovechkin at the same age back in the day when he was scoring. So I legitimately feel that he could even beat their records one day in quicker time. Just the way Austin Matthews plays the game, and he does it so easy. It's like he's playing out there on rookie mode. Now,
you know what, Riley? I might change my answer to you because I don't know, we were talking about it and we were kind of agreeing. Now, I mean, I honestly just kind of like realized again, there is a trophy for most goals, which most likely he might.
He's already won it. He's already won it,
so he's most likely going to get. Yeah. And then there's the trophy for a guy who gets most points. And MVP is obviously most valuable to his team, and I mean Matthews might be exactly that to his team.
I just don't know. You have so basically he's gonna have to beat out Kucherov, McKinnon, or McDavid, who all could have 50 more points than him at the end of the year. We're talking about a massive point gap from the top players to him. What is he? I'm actually gonna look. So
but here's the thing. But here's the thing, though. Matthews is the best player on that team. McDavid doesn't have to be the best player on, or might not be the best player on Edmonton. That could be Draisaitl. That could even be Zach Hyman.
Yeah, but McKinnon has to be the best player on his team.
Well, yeah.
Even though Makar is fantastic, Makar is a defenseman. He has to be the best player on his team. And Kucherov is 30-something points ahead of Braden Point on Tampa for second. So he has the largest gap of anyone because McKinnon has 93, Rantanen has 72. So there's a 21-point gap. Draisaitl has 70, McDavid has 87. So there's a 17-point gap. And Kucherov has 95 and Point has 59. So there's a massive gap in the team there. But I just think, like, okay, so Matthews has 76. He is sixth in the league. He's tied with JT Miller. Is he really? He's 20 points behind Kucherov. He's almost 20 points behind McKinnon, and he's 10 points behind McDavid. And that I think that gap's only going to grow.
It shouldn't have to deal with points.
No, but it's the best player in the league for that year. Not even most valuable to their team. It's just the best
but
player
that's what
in
MVP
the league.
is.
Yeah, most valuable player
in
the league. In the league. Not just to their team, but in the league.
And he literally might just be.
But here's the thing. I still believe firmly that McDavid is going to pass McKinnon and Kucherov. So I think
he might.
Because he's going to pull the Oilers when we were talking about them with the whole Jack Campbell debacle, when we were saying, like, they were on that 13-game losing streak where, like, the Oilers are done, they're not making the playoffs. He has single-handedly flipped the switch for his team and drove them back into the playoffs. And I think that to me is the most valuable player, especially if he takes the lead.
But let's say McDavid does that. Who's to say Matthews doesn't stay hot?
Oh, I believe he will. I think he's going to score 75 to 80, and that's going to be crazy. But I'm just saying, so say Kucherov gets 100. Let's just say McDavid gets 150. Kucherov gets 145, and McKinnon gets 145. Let's just say they're all still in that range. And Matthews gets 110. We're talking 40 to 35 points less, no matter how many goals he scores. Because he's at, how many assists is he at? Like, he has 52 goals, yes. He has 24 assists. He's not even at 30 assists yet. Like, his goal scoring is unreal. It's absolutely unmatched. It should be heralded as probably the best goal scoring season in history because of the talent of players he has to battle through. But his all-around point total is not matching up with those guys. It's showing how much he's needed by his team. You're right. He literally has only assisted 24 goals because no one else scores on that team outside of him on a lot of nights. But if he's 40 points behind for the lead, I just can't. I personally couldn't give him my vote. I would be like, he did fantastic. He has a trophy for him. He has the trophy for him. It's the Rocky Richard. It'll be the best Rocky Richard trophy in history. He did fantastic. But he's 40 points behind the league leaders. Like, to me, that just can't be MVP.
Those league leaders also have multiple weapons to help him get them there.
He has 4 guys
without
Matthews.
Without Matthews, where would they be today?
William Nylander's 3 points behind him. 1 point. William Nylander's 1 point behind him. Mitch Marner is 6 points behind him. So they all have 70 points.
I bet Matthews has been a part of all their goals.
I'm sure he's been a bunch of goals. Marner,
even if he wasn't a primary or secondary assist, he's always on the ice. He's helping set up his boys. He's the MVP. He's always making some flashy plays to get the guys on the board, regardless if he gets the primary or secondary assist. He's a good plus-minus guy out there.
I bet Toronto is an even wild card spot without Matthews.
I'd believe it.
I don't know. Nylander's having a pretty good year. Marner's having even without him. Okay, say they're both at 50 points. That's still good enough. In the East is terrible.
I still say Toronto isn't near as decent as they are this year. I mean, hell, they're barely in a playoff spot now. But I think they'd be worse.
I think they're second.
I think they'd be a lot worse without Matthews. Edmonton without McDavid. If McDavid was injured today, they'd still be all right. I guarantee.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have been where they were on their 13-game losing streak. He turned the ship around early, and yeah, Draisaitl's kind of started to come on the last month or two. But when they lost 13 in a row, it was McDavid going crazy the next 10 games that righted that ship.
I stand by my statement.
You can. I stand by mine, because he's also got to pass Pasternak, who could score 50 again and be higher than him in points. And he's got to pass Panarin, who could score 45 and be ahead of him in points. So, like, there's a lot of guys he has to climb. Like, if he's not even in the top 5 in points and he's 40 points behind the leader, like, there's just no way. That would be the craziest underdog point total to win MVP in league history. Like, that would be such a bad point differential. Everyone would be like, I get it for the goals, but other than that, like...
Well, all the people that you had just said, they have their own trophy, right? Most points, buddy.
Only one guy gets most points. He might not win MVP, though.
So he doesn't need it.
Yeah, but then there's the trophy, the most outstanding player, so that could also mean Matthews too, right? A player that exemplifies that he is helping his team the most on and off the ice. So exemplary and most outstanding. And I say Matthews should be that top contender. Because without Matthews, Nylander ain't getting those flashy assists or the goals. And the Marners or the Tavarises. Like, Matthews is a pillar, a cornerstone of the Maple Leafs franchise right now.
But what about... Okay, so for you then, being an Avalanche fan, what about Mikko Rantanen? Where did his 72 points come from without McKinnon being on the ice?
They don't.
They don't. Exactly. So where's McKinnon?
That's the Sakic and Forsberg, man. Like, those two are literally the only two other than Makar that are legitimately helping that team continue for a strong Central Division title right now.
And Makar has it, but that's what I'm saying. So Makar has 60, Rantanen has 72, and then McKinnon has 93. So without McKinnon, those two guys' point totals drop to the 40s. So, like, where's the argument that McKinnon's pulling his team into the fight? Like, as your resident Avalanche fan that you are, like, where's your fight for him over Matthews? Like, I think McKinnon is... I would guarantee McKinnon wins it over Matthews 10 out of 10 this year. He has been voted as the best player this year by almost everyone.
Here's where I'm going to jump in, is because we were debating on Matthews. It had nothing to do with the McKinnons or the Kuches, but me,
you said Matthews is MVP. McKinnon's second in the league in points. That directly says
for the Hart,
you're picking
for the
Matthews
Hart
over.
For the Hart Trophy, though, that's for most points. So yes, McKinnon and Kuch
the Hart is as voted by the general managers. The most points is the Ted Lindsay?
No. The Hart Memorial, brother, I think is pretty much for points.
I'm being dumb, but I'm looking it up. But no, so two of them are voted. One is voted by players. One is voted by staff.
And the NHLPA.
For points. Yeah. So we have the MVP of the regular season is the Hart. And where's the one for points?
The Art Ross. Pretty sure it's the Art Ross.
There's so many trophies that they don't talk about that are on this.
Ted Lindsay, I think, is for character or something.
Vezina. So most outstanding. Ted Lindsay is most outstanding as voted by the players.
Yeah.
And, where did it go?
Which could be McKinnon.
Where'd it go? Okay, let me click on the Hart here. Let me see.
Like, going back though, like, don't get me wrong, like, McKinnon, he's definitely an MVP. All right, but the whole topic of debate was Matthews, and yes, I think Matthews is a terrific player. However, with that said, yes, I love the Colorado Avalanche. I love Nathan McKinnon as a player, but the whole debate was on Matthews. But if it were to come down to the two of them, I would definitely choose McKinnon because he is most valuable to his team. Because honestly, night in and night out, it's mostly McKinnon going out there and getting the most points because he is the star of the show. It is the Nate Dogg show. Like, Gabriel Landeskog, 2 years, like, unheard of. Mikko Rantanen, first Colorado Avalanche to score more than 50. And, like, yeah, so Nathan McKinnon is the center of the universe there in Colorado. But going back, I think if you were to bottle it down, Matthews for sure is a cornerstone of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think he might get MVP.
So it says here, so voting, members of the Professional Hockey Writers Association submit ballots for the Hart Memorial Trophy at the conclusion of the regular season with the top 3 vote getters designated as finalists. So it is a voting, and it's by like journalists basically. So yeah, so the Art Ross is top point getter. So the Hart is separate from the points. Like yes, obviously the points matter, but the Art Ross, there's a trophy for most points, there's a trophy for most goals, but the MVP is just voted by writers, and then the was it Masterson?
The Bill Masterton Trophy, or Bill Masterton.
Where'd it go? Was it the Bill Masterton? Yeah, whatever. Voted by the PA. Sorry, Ted Lindsay. There we go. Ted Lindsay's voted by the PA. So I don't know. I just don't. If you ask any player, that the PA one's going to McKinnon. There's no chance it's not. I've seen so many interviews this year saying that McKinnon's the best player in the NHL. There's no way that the players don't vote McKinnon. And I know that, look, this isn't even me arguing for Kucherov. Like, I know Kucherov is not winning it. There's just no way that they give it to Kucherov. I believe McDavid's going to pass him and McKinnon, and he's going to lead the league in points at the end of the year. I just know it's going. If McDavid is 40 points ahead, there's no writer that can say Matthews wins it. Like, there will be a lot of Toronto writers that say that Matthews wins it, but the majority of the NHL writers will say McDavid. That's my opinion. My guess.
I'm gonna be honest, boys. My phone's like just about to die, so wondering where we're at.
Almost there.
It's got like 5%. See how that goes.
We learned Jeremy Swayman did ballet in college, which helped his goaltending because his mom was a ballet teacher. He never thought about doing ballet. He needed an open elective, so he picked ballet, and he realized it helped him a lot, and he still does it to this day, which he feels has translated to the NHL with his goaltending and his flexibility. So I thought that was pretty neat to see because just like Jeff Skinner, a guy who did figure skating growing up, it was an extra element that everyone who thinks their kids just need to play hockey growing up, they can see that other sports do help with that as well. Jagr retired, so as a Pittsburgh fan, Deli, you had to be pumped to see number 68 go to the rafters, and it'll probably be retired in the NHL soon-ish. Maybe him and Lemieux are probably in the next, wave after Gretzky if there is going to be someone's jersey number retired.
Exactly.
Did we lose him? We might have lost him.
No, you're about to though. You're about to. I just do sound.
Okay. We can always just continue it and we'll just finish up if it does die. It's all good. Winnipeg Jets owner Mark Chipman says the team needs to regain its strong attendance to ensure the franchise has a solid future in one of the smallest markets in the league. In an interview with The Athletic, Chipman said the team's season ticket base is under 9,500 this season after being around 13,000 3 years ago. He says, quote, "I wouldn't be honest with you if I didn't say we've got to get back to 13,000, Chipman said. This place we find ourselves in right now is not going to work over the long haul. It just isn't. The Jets' average attendance is 13,306 and has them playing 85 or 87% of their capacity. It's the third worst mark in the 32 NHL teams. Average attendance is second worst to the Arizona Coyotes, who play in a 4,600 seat college rink. So basically, the Jets are threatening to leave again, which sucks.
And watch, they'll probably go to Atlanta probably again.
They could, because it'd be easy to move with all these teams or all these cities being interested. It'd be way easier to move to than add to.
And you were telling us off the air there, Riley, that it's the general managers that are threatening to leave. Like, if you guys want to keep your team, again, you have to show up to the rink. That's just simple as that.
Yeah, and if the owners find that like there's just no money, they're gonna leave. Like they're gonna sell the team to someone who wants it because they're not gonna lose money. It's a business at the end of the day.
Do you imagine the Jets leave before the Arizona Coyotes still even have an NHL arena? That'd just be bonkers.
That would be crazy, man. Speaking of Arizona, though, they've placed forward Adam Ruzicka on unconditional waivers for the purpose of terminating his contract. It says the club will have no further comment at this time. That directly from the Arizona Coyotes. There was a video that surfaced. We are not to comment. Really, we don't know what it was, but
I've seen some comments, but yeah, I'll keep it
yeah.
off
I
there.
mean, there's something about white powder and a vial in his mouth, and other than that, we can't. It's all speculation. Nothing's concrete. So there's just a lot of people mad as to why teams are allowed to terminate the contracts instead of help players get to the player assistance program if it is indeed drug related, like they're speculating.
Or why he would even post it in the first place, right?
Well, that is left to be, say it was what everyone says it was. He could not have been of sound mind and just, been doing that. Just decided to grab his cell phone and start videoing, which is common, really, when you look at all these athletes that make stupid mistakes. Look at John Morant waving guns around multiple times. Like,
Valeri
there are
Nichushkin
guys,
holding an AR-15.
yeah, and somehow he didn't get suspended. You know what's dumb though is like Evgeny Kuznetsov has been caught 3 times with white powder in videos on social media, and he's never really been hampered down
Reprimanded
on.
for it. Yeah.
Like now, maybe Washington did send him to that program, and maybe it worked. Like, I don't know, but yeah, it's just like why is Arizona taking this guy who they just got off waivers and just sending him away? Like, either way, both Florida teams got new third jerseys. Tampa and the Panthers. I will absolutely say the Panthers are electric. It says Vamos Gatos on the front in a panther's mouth with pineapples and stuff around it. Vamos Gatos means let's go cats. So in Spanish, obviously. So you got to love that. I think it's sick. It's such a nice orange in behind that logo. And then Tampa's jerseys are black with 3 stripes, one indicating each Stanley Cup. They have the Stanley Cup wins inside the collar for the years. They're using their shoulder patch logo, which they've never had on the front. So I kind of like that because it's been there for so long. Yeah, I think it's a clean jersey. I know lots of people don't like it, but I personally do. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Gatos jersey's beautiful. Tampa jerseys,
they're plain.
Just my biased opinion.
Fair enough. You're allowed your biased opinion. All right, Dal, you still there?
I am here.
Perfect. Let's just jump into game day reviews real quick. Yours is pretty easy. If you just want to go over the Arizona Coyotes real quick, where they're at in their season and what you think they look like for the end of the year.
Well, first off, I'll start with we're extremely proud, and we keep referring to the fact of our boy Connor Ingram, former Kamloops Blazer, who's having a tremendous breakout season with the Arizona Coyotes franchise. First with Tampa, and then not really settling too well with Nashville, but he's really found himself a home with the Arizona Coyotes, and it's been freaking awesome. So congrats to Connor Ingram. He's been in talks for a Vezina Trophy season, so all respect, he deserves to be in those talks still. Arizona has been surprising this year in the West. I mean, they have a winning record, and they're definitely on the rise. They've had Dylan Gunther up with the team this year. They've had Logan Cooley most of the time. Clayton Keller is still proving to himself, the fans, the organization, to the NHL that he is a cornerstone of the franchise, and he'd definitely be there for a long time. And yeah, I like their odds this year. Arizona isn't looking like a push around team no more. They want to be there. They want to be heard. They just need to get this arena deal done so that the Coyotes will stay in the desert. With as long as Bettman's around, we all know that they're not going anywhere. But you know what? They're not just going to be some mediocre team in the middle of the desert anymore in the next few years.
For sure. All right, Jack, you want to do St. Louis?
Sure. 5th in the Central. A team that's right up there to make a playoff spot. the West is a deep, very deep in the
Playoff race.
I guess conference, deep conference. They could easily be a team that gets kicked out, or they could be a team that just slips in. And I think it's going to come down to, well, quality goaltending. I mean, we just rip Binnington any chance we get, right? So
Yep.
obviously they need to figure something out with him. But personally, I don't know. I'm going to predict that they squeak out.
I would think so.
Unless Binnington keeps his cool, but I think they just squeak out of playoffs.
Well, if this is accurate, it actually shows, even though they haven't updated the positions, Nashville has 64 points and St. Louis has 62. So actually, right now, they are out as of this moment, if this is correct. But they could have won tonight or something, which is why they're ahead of them. I'm not sure. But yeah, I have San Jose. Honestly, I think San Jose is a failure. Not because of their position in the league, but because they haven't been trading any of their guys that they acquired for assets. Duclair is still there. Granlund's still there. Hoffman's still there. Like, Ruda is still there. Ferraro's still there. Where are these guys, or Hurdle, LeBanc? Like, they have been the one team where you were like, okay, they're going to be building assets with all these guys, but that's just not happening. So I think it's a failure so far for San Jose. They have 2 weeks to trade like 11 players. Good luck.
Yeah, I guess I would have to agree with that. Unless, I mean, clearly this team's not going to win it for them or do anything for them.
Exactly. And they talked about, okay, these are players we can move to get assets for in the future. Especially when they made the Carlson trade, it was like, these are serviceable NHL players that we can trade. Granlund, Ruda, etc. And it's like, they're still there, not being moved on. But yeah, that's it for our segment Game Day Reviews. Let's just quickly jump into our Battle of the Tarps. We have, for the first time, the two top professional hockey leagues in men's and women's. We have the NHL, Vancouver Canucks, and their black alternates versus the PWHL, Minnesota, and their aways. So I kind of picked a wrong photo for Minnesota, but that is a purple on their lettering. So it's white jersey, Minnesota, purple going diagonally, and then purple on the letters is a very dark purple. And then the Canucks is obviously their black with their yellow skate, and the red circle. So give me your thoughts on those.
I don't know. It's definitely a tough one to. Not tough. Sorry, it's bad for the PWHL jersey. I think just because they're new to the league. Obviously, they don't have anything too nuts, so it's kind of like a unfair advantage to say Vancouver. I'm gonna say Vancouver.
Yeah,
jerseys are nicer only because of, obviously, the PWHL don't really have the funds to make as cool jerseys.
Yeah, and if for those who don't know, we put our randomizer to the test, and we get two completely random leagues, two completely random teams, or it could be the same league and random teams. And we pick home, away, or alternate. We randomize that as well. So if we've landed on Minnesota home, where it's a really nice dark purple, I feel like it could have competed. But because it's the away jersey and it's just so white with very little, I do definitely agree that the Canucks alternate is the way to go, and that PWHL Minnesota, for the away jersey at least, doesn't stack up.
My personal pick, boys, is definitely going to be the Vancouver Canucks. They brought back their retro black skate jersey. Loved the yellow and red finish with it, with the striping. They also did add to this kit when they brought back not brought back, sorry. They brought in their matte black helmets, which look very slick to go with the
Very
uniform.
nice.
Like Dakota said, he couldn't have said it any better. I mean, Minnesota PWHL, they're new, so they don't quite have the branding or the logo to really emphasize the jersey. However, I am a sucker for the diagonal lettering of your team. So I'm not going to say it's a total miss with it. They are nice. However, like I said, maybe one day they'll bring those in as a third jersey one day when they do get all their branding done. But for me, a solidified pick is definitely going to be the Vancouver Canucks alternate black jersey.
True. Okay, so we will put that poll up on all of our social medias. You can either repost or like, and you can vote for it there. We have our February Battle of the Tarps semifinal number 1. That is versus Neftekamik from the KHL versus Ilves. And it is the dark blue Neftekamik jerseys with the white wolf on the front versus the Ilves yellow jerseys with the really ugly lynx, but the honeycomb finish on the bottom, which really sealed the deal for it making this semifinal. Look, I hate the Lynx, boys. I hate it, but I love the honeycomb so much. I'm still picking it. I'm still going for me, Ilves over Neftekamik on this one. I just love the honeycomb on the bottom.
You know what? I'm gonna go with Ills as well. I like the logo. It's freaky. I mean, I do dig the dark blue and the gray and the red and the white, like that color scheme all mixes together and the wolf logo, but I definitely like how well the yellow, the green, and the black all just kind of mend together in that jersey. So I'm definitely gonna say the Ilves as well.
Yeah, I mean it's a battle, but it's so close. But I just love Ilves, love it. Go ahead,
I'm
Dan.
going to go for the safe bet. I'm going to go for the hat trick here, boys. I mean, 3-0. I'm going to go with the same two. Just too clean. Like it's a tight battle, but you know what? They definitely still have the cleaner jersey by far.
Yeah, so that's 3-0 for Ilves. So we need you guys on. Well, again, we'll put this up on social media. You can vote, either repost or like, to select which one is your favorite. So please go on all of our social medias and do that. And then our final tarp battle of the night is the January tarp final. Merit Centennials versus PWHL Ottawa. And so we're going to have people vote for that. I know my pick is still the Merit Centennials. The new logo for them, if it was their old logo, they would have been out episodes ago. But this new logo with the bull is it. It is so cool. It's such a good idea for being such a good bull riding town. I'm still going Merit Centennials.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's it's tough. I'm gonna say Merit as well, but this one is tough just because it is the Ottawa home jersey. Now, the nice thing is it's not like they copied the Senators.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like to me that looks like Montreal Alouettes esque
Yep.
type jersey. And if they were wearing the colors of the Merit Centennials, like that would almost be a Ottawa type color scheme to me. But I'm definitely going to go with the Sens. But the Ottawa one is clean in my eyes.
It's very clean. Like, there's a reason this is the final. These two jerseys were the nicest ones of our January tarp battle. And it really does come down to it honestly comes down to the logo. Again, it sucks that the PWHL just doesn't have their logos yet. It comes down to the logo, and Merit Sense win based off that for me. It's just so cool.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, Merit is
Sorry,
one
go
of the
ahead.
older. Yeah, I was just gonna say Merit is one of the older franchises in the BCHL, but you know, disregarding that, like they've kept it pretty simple with that old logo you're mentioning, Riley. But the rebranding and putting in that bowl, they really did a nice job just bringing in some fresh take on the logo, which is awesome. So I think my pick is definitely still gonna be Merit. Love the color scheme, the red and the black with the bowl. It looks really nice.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Love it. All right, gents. I think that does it for episode 24 of Gameday Tarts podcast. As always, to everyone, thank you for listening. Please, like I said, go on social media, follow us, vote on these polls. We're on everywhere that you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple Music, any of those. We're on YouTube with this video live. We will have photos of these jerseys. We will have photos of lots of the things that we've been incorporating in. So go check us out on YouTube. Give us a follow or a subscribe there. Like the video. Thank you very much. Have a great night.